Talk shoes. Recorded live.
Hi, everyone. Good evening and welcome to Notes from a Ghostwriter. I'm Zsuzsana Summer, and I'm here with our co-host, Sandie, LaNae, and our producer, Rob DeSantis. Hi, gang.
Hi, everybody.
Hi. We've got an awesome show for you tonight with a guest we're very much looking forward to chatting with. Is Jeff Belanger of ghostvillage.com. Hi, Jeff, and thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you, and thank you for the French pronunciation of my name. That was very
well, I'm in Canada,
international.
so that's what we do.
Well, comment ça va?
Pas mal, merci. Et vous?
Matza matza.
Okay. That's about the limit of my rusty French.
Very good.
Jeff, where are you from, actually?
I live in Massachusetts, where we pronounce it Belanger. But when I'm in Canada or France, I do pronounce it Belanger because it's certainly a French name. But
yes.
I can usually tell where someone's from when they hit the French pronunciation. So.
You must do a lot of traveling then.
Yeah, I get around a little bit, which is nice. All the cool places seem to be somewhere else.
Well, if you want to talk about cool, it's very cool here in Toronto right now. I mean, very cool. We're still up to our knees. So.
Yeah, no, Toronto's a beautiful city. I'm actually not that far here in Massachusetts. It's
definitely.
It's a short plane ride.
Yeah,
but no shortage of ghostly legends up there in that area either, especially at Niagara on the Lake, which is a great tourist region, but also lots of good history. With the British station there and things like that.
Definitely, isn't there? There's a very haunted restaurant there as well.
Old Angel Inn.
The
Old Angel Inn.
Yeah, that's right. I haven't had a chance to go in there, but I've driven by it and then just been drawn to it. Of course, I'd love to get in there. Have you been there?
No, but I know all about it. I had an entry in it in my first book, The World's Most Haunted Places, and I believe it was Colonel Swayze, a British soldier who was in love with the innkeeper's daughter way back when, hid out there when the Americans were raiding and coming in and just wiping the British out in that area,
right? And
hid out there and was killed in the basement, and he's said to be the one haunting the place. So certainly interesting legends, and from what I understand, they always fly the British Union Jack flag outside. And that seems to keep him at bay, and also as long as they don't serve American beers on tap.
Are you kidding?
which, depending on the American beer, is usually a pretty good policy anyway.
Americans, from what I understand, they really like the Canadian beer, so let's stick with that here, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, so no American beer, and you got the British Union Jack, and you're okay.
Yeah, wonderful. Jeff, when Sandie told me she'd met you at a recent ghost conference, I was pretty blown away. I've had your website bookmarked ever since I caught you on, I think it was Maury Povich's show.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Probably a year or two ago, and I was really impressed with your research and findings. I think at the time you were discussing some footage about hauntings in Gettysburg, among many other things. EVPs too, I believe. You must do a lot of TV shows.
Yeah, a few of them. Every now and then it's funny. Obviously it's the most popular media out there and the most far-reaching. But boy, you just can't get into much detail with TV.
Well, definitely.
And I mean, I'm a written word guy. I'm a writer. That's what I always wanted to be. That's what I worked at. That's what I started at when I got out of college. I was working for a newspaper. I was a journalist. And so, October comes and you go looking for these haunted interest stories.
Right.
And that's kind of always the angle I've taken on this, very objective. I don't have the answers. I wish I did. I don't. But I think that it's a very interesting world we live in. And I think there's a lot of evidence that shows that something's going on. People are having experiences that we can't quite explain. They're happening all over the world to people from all walks of life, from all different faiths, all different ages and backgrounds and everything in between. And it's a global phenomenon. There's an understanding of it. And also when I first got into this, I thought it was a pretty simple field. You have ghosts and you have haunted places. And I've come to learn that just isn't so. There's so many offshoots that start with the ghost experience. It's almost like the ghost is the least common denominator of belief in religion and faith and all this other stuff that gets spiritual.
Ah.
Because Mormons see ghosts and Christians see ghosts and Muslims see ghosts and Jews and even
True.
atheists see ghosts. And so it's this thing that the underlying message, of course, is that there's something that happens after we die. Beyond that, we can argue about it, and we can write religious texts, and we can quote our scriptures and say, this is what I think happens. But we're not really sure. But when someone sees a ghost, all they know is, wow, something happens after we die, and it's a very profound human experience that people go through, and it's moving, and that's really what intrigued me about it. And then you get into, so many other facets of the paranormal. You can get very esoteric and psychic and dowsing and all this other stuff. You can get very metaphysical. You can even get scientific and try to measure these things with electromagnetic fields or temperature or everything in between.
Right. Definitely. But regardless of what approach you take or what belief system you have, I think it comes back to the core. It's the same thing. I mean, it's there.
Well, something's going on. Yeah, certainly. What exactly? Boy, I truly don't know. But I do know that when you've interviewed enough people, and God, I've spoken easily to well over 1,000 people now who've had this experience. Interviewed them for my books, talked to them at conferences, spoke with them on the phone, emailed with them, and so on. It's very. You can tell that they've been profoundly moved. Now, I do think some of them are certainly mistaken. I think some of them need some help. Certainly that accounts for some of them. They're just,
definitely.
Yeah, there's some problems there, and they definitely need some help. And some people are just, it's wishful thinking, but boy, you can't dismiss them all, can you?
No, definitely not.
I guess that's what keeps me employed.
Well, that's what keeps a bunch of us employed, I think. Yeah. How many books do you have out there, Jeff?
I have 7 out right now, and I've got 2 more coming in 2008, and trying to ink a deal for 2 more. Yeah. So.
Way to go! That's not too shabby.
Could you, if I could interject here, Jeff, could you speak about your Ghost Village?
Sure.
Your site online for the listeners.
Yeah, ghostvillage.com is the site I started back in 1999, and as I said, I was a newspaper reporter, and I was with a newspaper that was just kind of a startup, and we had a website. We were one of the early publications to actually have a website back in the mid-'90s.
Wow.
And I had a couple of these articles on haunted places, and they told me, they said, those articles get more hits than all our other pages combined. And the newspaper went out of business, and it was 1999, and I wanted to teach myself how to build websites. And so I started with just 6 little web pages and put those articles up and said on the homepage, tell us about your own ghost experiences. And that was October of 1999, and God, I think we got maybe 3 or 4 hits a day back then, and
yeah,
it was great and well and good and everything, and boy, the stories just started coming in, and every year it was more and more, and now the site gets between 8 and 13 million hits per month. We've got just tens of thousands of subscribers from all over the world, and it's just become a really big repository for information. There's over 150,000 pages of content now being fed by not just me anymore. Now we've got all kinds of excellent writers and contributors.
I would imagine you need a team, yeah.
Yeah, and message boards that are being visited by tens of thousands of people everywhere who are just but the concepts never change. Wanted one place for an open discussion of the topic, a place that welcomes the skeptical view, the religious view, the scientific view, and everything in between, for people to talk about it and realize, they're not so weird. Other people are going through similar experiences, and it's an open place to have the discussion.
Definitely.
Well, I can vouch for it. It's a wonderful place. It really is.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll take credit for throwing the switches in the background, but I mean, it's growing on its own inertia now. There's so many people that feed it. It's just I just make sure that the server's running at this point.
That's what makes any resource credible, though. I think, to have a number of different facets of looking at things. Not just looking at things from one particular viewpoint, from a faith-based viewpoint,
right,
or whatever, or strictly scientific, but to have all kinds of input.
What's really started to interest me the more I've gotten into this field is that I'm absolutely riveted by the subject matter. Of course, that's what drives me. But I've really become interested in the people that pursue this as well. Speaking at these conferences and talking to so many folks, paranormal investigators, psychics, and everything in between. It's really interesting what draws people to this, and I've kind of come to the conclusion that it's really kind of a spiritual endeavor we're on, even if you don't think it is, even if you think you're being purely scientific with your thermometer and your EMF meter and your thermal imaging camera, you still are making some assumption that it's possible that there is something after death, and it's possible that you're going to be able to capture it or measure it in some way, with this equipment, thus making it almost like dowsing.
Right.
Definitely another field called instrumental transcommunication, which of course is using technology to try and bridge the gap to facilitate spirit communication. And you can use just about anything if you talk to folks that are regularly into that practice. And it's really interesting that so many folks are doing this, and they're trying to wrap their hands around this very big question, and going out on weekends and running around cemeteries and haunted buildings and starting there. And I think it's great. I really think it's wonderful that people have questions and they're going about it, their own way, trying to find those big answers. But
definitely, don't you find that ghost hunters in general are they're very excited about what they're doing?
Yeah, sometimes too excited.
Yeah, well,
like
that's true.
Please don't trespass, folks.
Yes.
Yes.
Please, there's and a host of other things. Please stop holding your EMF meter up to network TV cameras and going, "Ooh, a ghost is here! Look, it's beeping." No, network TV. I've witnessed that, and I said, "Oh my God, that network TV camera's got a battery that could power a small city."
Right.
Of course, your EMF meter's going off. Please, you're making us all look foolish. So
that's part of it, definitely.
So the bad news is that the road to becoming a ghost hunter simply means you have to wake up and say, "Hey, I'm a ghost hunter," which is the same way you become a freelance writer. Oddly enough, you just wake up one day and declare you are one, and that's pretty much it. You're on your way.
That's how I started. I said I am one.
That's how we all start. But same with ghost hunting, and sadly, there's no certification. There's no governing body that can rule these things, and so it can certainly get hazy. When you hear about groups charging, a few $1,000s for a clearing or something like that, and
is
I'm like,
that right?
I'm like, if I'm paying that, you're painting my house, you're doing the windows,
putting in a pool, right?
Yeah, I want an addition put on, and then we can talk about the thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
Jeff, you must have had some interesting encounters yourself then with the other side. Can you tell us about one or two that really piqued your... Yes, go ahead.
This usually surprises people. My most interesting encounters have always been with the living. I've only had one experience that I really can't explain, but for the most part, I have yet to see a ghost. I've yet to have that over-the-top paranormal encounter.
Is that right? Oh, how interesting.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. My one encounter happened when I was in Paris, France, a few years ago, and
I love Paris. Let's talk about Paris.
Yeah, no, it's a beautiful city and really a great place. And I was going to the catacombs, and which is 30 meters below the city, and it's where they've quarried the limestone for the building materials for Paris, and they've been doing this since about 2,000 years. Although 2,000 years ago they simply got the rock right at the surface, but as they started to build buildings, they had to start building tunnels. And in the mid-1700s, they had two problems. The ground underneath was getting very hollow as they continued to quarry, and the buildings up top were getting very heavy and dense. And the other problem was that their cemeteries, which were once on the outskirts of town, were now downtown and surrounded, and there was no room for them to grow, and bodies were just being thrown into piles. And it was making people sick. The smell was awful. Rotting corpses were everywhere. And so and the other problem was that buildings were collapsing into the hollow ground below. So they wanted to solve two problems. They closed off these tunnels, and they were bringing the bones down. And disturbing a place of the dead is kind of a universal taboo. You just
that's a
don't do
no-no.
it. Yeah, you don't do it. But at the same time, the living will always take precedent, and Paris was no different. So they moved these bones down below, and as I'm walking through these tunnels, I'm 6'2", first of all, and there's plenty of spots where I had to duck to keep walking. And to give you an idea of the width, if I stretched my fingertips out in both directions, I'm touching the walls on both sides. So that's about the size. And I'm winding through tunnels, and finally I come to an archway that says, "Arrête, c'est ici l'Empire de la Mort," which means, stop, this is the Empire of the Dead. And when I went through, you're greeted by 6 million human skeletons. It absolutely takes your breath away. They're in a very... 6 million people have been moved down there. 60 generations of Parisians from various cemeteries have all been brought down there. It's very
How are they
macabre.
housed? Like, is it just like open, like bones everywhere, or what?
Leg bones have been turned into a retaining wall. Skulls are in patterns like Valentine hearts and crosses and arcs and just staring back at you. Bones behind them just piled up. No way to know who's who. It's impossible to tell. And there's just a marker every now and then saying, basically where these bones came from, which cemetery, and when they were brought down below. So, but there's no way of knowing who's who anymore. Everybody's mixed together. All their bones are mixed together, right down there, and it's right there at your fingertips. Absolutely takes your breath away. When I was down there, I was completely alone, and the only sound.
To go like alone.
I was in Paris alone. So.
But okay. But were you not on a tour? Or
no, I wasn't. I
you just went down by yourself. Oh my goodness.
So
you're a brave man.
Well, the pictures that you took when you were there. I've got your book sitting in front of me here. Incredible pictures of like you said, the bones and skulls stacked and in patterns.
Yeah, I've got probably about 40, 50 pictures that I took down there. I've been there twice now, and it's really talk about the heebie-jeebies at first, but at the same time, it's very humbling as you start to walk through this place. And I mean, the only sounds are just the crunch of gravel under your feet and the drip of water seeping through the limestone somewhere, just the occasional drip, and very low lighting. And I was in this passageway just surrounded by bones, and I saw a shadow about the size of a man move from the right side to the left and then back again. And I said, I can't explain that. I don't know what that was.
Where would that come from if it was?
And so I moved along and I got back to the surface, and it was very humbling by the time you get to the end, because you realize these people gave up their eternal resting ground so the city of Paris could grow. Right. And they've when you go to a cemetery, there's all these headstones that mark who was who. Each corpse gets a voice, even if the voice is only the name and when they lived. But there, you've got 6 million people who are kind of forced into one collective voice, one place, the catacombs. We're all here. We were the early Parisians, and now we're all mixed in together, and will be, forevermore.
Right. Right.
And it's kind of humbling by the time you get to the end.
It gives new meaning to the phrase "we are one."
Yeah, they sure are. Uncle Larry's leg bones mixed in with Aunt Judy's arm bones and everything in between.
Well, it's really interesting. I didn't know we were going to talk about this tonight, but last night I had a dream of walking through a cemetery, and I was actually stepping on people's grave markers, and I didn't know I couldn't move around them. I just had to walk on them because there's no other choice. And I'm just feeling that might be connected to what you're talking about. That's
very interesting. Yeah, the thing about cemeteries, people often ask, well, why on earth would a cemetery be haunted? If you're going out looking for ghosts, why would you start at a cemetery? I mean, if you're a ghost and you can go anywhere, why would you hang out there? I mean, you'd think like the front row of rock concerts and the 50-yard line of your favorite football teams, and it would be like the most haunted places on earth. And things like this, but I think there's the part to it is that it has more to do with the living, which of course cemeteries are really all about the living. They have very little to do with the dead.
Of course.
I think when you're in a cemetery, when you realize you're standing on mortal remains for so many people, and your kin or family are down there too. It's either conscious or subconscious. You're kind of opening yourself up to the notion of what comes next. I mean, it's your own inevitable fate.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, your own inevitable fate is to be buried, possibly right near where you're standing.
Right.
And you start thinking about that, and maybe you're opening up to whatever kind of impressions or whatever might be lingering around. And so maybe a cemetery or a catacomb or even a place like a battlefield, these hallowed grounds aren't necessarily such a bad place to start if you are actively seeking haunts and ghosts. Right,
because as you say, you're opening up your own senses, your sixth sense, perhaps. You're really transported at that time, I think.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah. I've never believed in a sixth sense. No? I believe we can extend our existing five senses, because there's evidence of that all around us. You go to bed at night and you turn off the light and you can't see a thing and you bump into your nightstand and all this other stuff. But then after a few minutes, your sense of sight extends. Your pupils dilate. It's a natural physiological function. So you can see further than you did before. Likewise, if you're out in the bright sun, your pupils get really small. So it lets in less light so you can see more clearly. Your hearing can become more acute when the sound gets silent, or when it's really noisy, it can tune out the noise and focus in on the prominent features. So I think all of our senses have the natural ability to extend, and I think some people are able to extend it even further. The sense of sight to, what you would call, clairvisual or clairaudio with a sense of hearing, things like that. So I don't think it's a sixth sense so much as an extension of the existing five.
That's a very interesting take on that. I've never looked at it that way. I'll have to give that some thought.
It's my own 2 cents.
Yeah, I like that.
Sure.
Sandie, what do you think about that?
I think it's absolutely wonderful, because I've always counted on my sixth sense to do everything, and maybe it's just my other senses that are kicking in a little bit more enhanced, like Jeff says. I'll have to chew on that one too. I like that.
Yeah.
Well, if you some of the people I've spoken with who feel that they're psychic or sensitive, often will say that, well, I don't really see things, but I hear things. Or I don't really hear things, but I see things. Or I don't hear or see, I feel things. And if you know what your strength is, maybe you can focus on it. I mean, if you're not seeing anything, well, maybe you can really develop your hearing even more so.
Definitely,
and forget those other 4 senses for a moment.
Right. Speaking of that, actually, I got to meet up with your friend Jim DiCarlo. Am I saying his name right?
Yeah, sure.
I talked to him once, and I'm being a photographer. That's my past. Also, I was a fashion photographer for 20 years. I get to see his work. He brought a different look to it. I was pretty amazed. Those are some of the best photos I ever saw of somebody trying to actually get an apparition. Was that fun to work with him?
Yeah, well, I mean, Jim and I worked on some articles together, and we've known each other for years. I don't go on his shoots. In fact, he mainly works alone when he does that stuff. But yeah, he's certainly interesting. And what's so fascinating to me is, again, that's a realm called ITC, instrumental transcommunication, using technology, in his case, a camera, to try to bridge that gap, to try to make it communication. And with Jim, he was one of the first spirit photographers that I got to know who really looked at it as a spiritual endeavor. At that point, there were other people who were claiming to take ghost photos, but what they were saying was basically like, well, I go somewhere and I click pictures and sometimes something turns up in them. Jim's intent was to make contact. Jim's intent was to make a connection using his camera, which I think made him different than a lot of other people who are just randomly clicking pictures in a haunted location and trying to get lucky. Focused intent becomes a very big part of this spiritual endeavor. And then you, of course, saw the results he got.
Yeah, unbelievable. I actually pushed him a little bit. I said, you really got to do some video for us. Yeah. I said, come on, do some video. And he goes, well, I was talking about it. I said, don't talk to it.
Don't talk to it, yeah.
We want video.
Yeah. No, and that's the thing, you mentioned earlier about being on the Maury show, and, everybody wants something. With the clip, the segment we did was called Ghost Caught on Tape, and we were basically running through some of the various photographs and videos and audio clips that people have been collecting, throughout the years. And
That was
really
serendipity that I caught it, because I never watched that show. I just happened to be flicking through looking for something, and I said, "Oh my goodness, this is amazing!"
Yeah. They've been doing they've been doing a lot of paranormal shows lately. The Maury Show has, and I think it's great. I mean, I think the more that we talk about this subject, the better, and it kind of takes it out of the realm of the weird. But certainly one of the problems that we run into is a phenomenon called pareidolia, which is basically finding patterns in randomness. Mm-hmm. And that's something we have to be aware of. It's a human trait. We're born with it. It's whenever you've heard someone say, "Well, I never forget a face." Well, none of us ever forget a face. It's an incredible human ability. And it's because we're always looking for faces. We're looking.
The mind
for faces.
always wants to make a pattern out of something that doesn't recognize.
That's right.
Yeah.
We want order out of chaos. And not only that, same with speech. We are always listening for speech. Even if it's a language we don't understand, as soon as any kind of human speech is spoken around us, it goes to the highest levels of our brain processing. And if we say, "Oh, that's Mandarin Chinese, I don't speak that, so this information is now no use to me," your brain then lowers the processing and turns it into background noise. But if it's a language you understand, it stays at that highest level. And then, you determine, well, is this something I need to know, information I can use, or is it just, an announcement that someone left their lights on, it's not me, turn it off. Mm-hmm. And so we're listening for these patterns. And one of the things I think we have to be careful of when we start reviewing evidence like EVP and spirit photos and things like that is that we're not staring so long that the trees in the woods start turning into faces. And, we have to remember a photograph by its very nature is distorted. You go to the Sears portrait studio and take a picture of your kid. It's distorted because it's two-dimensional and your kid is three-dimensional. Mm-hmm. Everything's been flattened out, and that happens in every single photo ever. But at the same time, cameras don't discriminate, which is interesting. The human eye, we focus on various things. If you're talking to a person, you're mainly focused on them, and everything else just kind of becomes a blur. A camera doesn't discriminate at all. It takes in everything and allows you to look at the entire scene, every inch of it later. So maybe some of these things are always floating around on our periphery, and the camera's catching it, though our eyes may not be, which I think is certainly an interesting possibility. Plus, if you start getting into the technology of it, digital cameras can and do see further beyond the visible light spectrum than the human eye. They can see a little bit into infrared, and they can see a little bit into ultraviolet, depending on the software in a digital camera. And cameras are stupid. There's no intelligence in them. If there's an object that's prominent in that part of the spectrum, they just say, "Well, I should capture this information." They don't discriminate. Right. They just bring it in. And so, and weird things are turning up in people's photos. So, the camera can discern quicker than the human eye. It can see further in the spectrum than the human eye, and it doesn't discriminate, unlike the human eye. So it certainly adds a lot of interesting points of thought to things like spirit photography. But at the same time, we have to remember when reviewing it that we're always looking for patterns. If someone's showing me a ghost photo, I want to see a face, a tie, and a name tag. If someone's playing an EVP for me, I want it so crystal clear that you think it's it's being broadcast
well, Sandie has
on network
like
television. That. Those are the ones that are interesting to me, because when you can play them for 5 different people independently, and all 5 people without any prodding will tell you the same thing that it said, that's interesting to me. When you start hearing like wah 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 wah, and then someone says, "Can't you hear?" It says, "Play the lottery." You go, "Boy, that's funny. I think you're full of it."
Yeah.
Sandie, what was that great one that you have when I think it was your daughter on the phone?
Oh, yeah. She was talking to a friend about her boyfriend because they broke up, and I throw out a tape recorder every now and then just to see who's in the house. And when my daughter was talking, an EVP came through, and it said, just as crystal clear as all get out, it said, "He's depressed." And I thought,
serves him right, the jerk.
Yeah, Eric, you should be depressed, So, yeah, but it was very crystal clear.
It was very clear. Mm-hmm. What about you had another one, Sandie, that you sent me?
Oh, I've had quite a few, throughout all the ghost hunts we've been on, that I only really keep the crystal clear ones because, like Jeff was saying, the garbled ones, anybody's going to hear different words out of it, and I just don't like. Well, I save them, I do, but I don't keep them around for people to listen to. I only keep the crystal clear ones out.
Right.
Yeah, the Class A as they call them. But yeah, no, it's so interesting to me because I think all of us want some kind of sign. We want to know that there's something else out there. I think it's a basic human need. For some people, they can go to their church or their synagogue or their mosque, at the end of the week, and they get it. They feel it in their heart, and that's enough for them. Other people need to be able to scan through some photos or play some audio clips and say, that's it. This is what I captured. This is what I know. And then there's others that we just keep looking.
Right.
We just keep looking and looking and hoping to find something that answers our own questions because, God, I wish I could prove this to the world. I can't. I can't put a ghost in a jar and hold it up and say, here it is. I got it. It can't get out.
Exactly.
But what I can.
Be fun. I'd love to have a ghost in a jar.
Yeah, I think if you go on eBay, you can buy one of those. I'm not sure, but I think I saw that once. But at the same time,
with the town that it was in, yeah.
That's right. Yeah, right. Big bucks on haunted items on eBay, but
Right.
I think I got an old beer
can
can.
I ask you a
beer
little
can?
off-topic one?
I'm sorry, what?
I have an off-topic question. Basically, I was looking at your website and I saw this psychic vampire, and I noticed a similar last name to.
Yeah, Michelle. Yeah.
What is that about? That sounds
that's
very
funny.
interesting.
People, Michelle actually, she pronounces her last name Belanger, from what I understand. She's in Ohio, and she wrote several books, but one of them is the Psychic Vampire Codex, and she's a psychic vampire and into the whole pagan goth culture, and very interesting person. That was a recent podcast. GhostVillage.com has a weekly podcast show called Ghost Chronicles, and she was interviewed. We're not related as far as we can tell, other than probably somewhere distantly, I guess. We're not married. We're not brother and sister, which people often ask us. But she's out there doing her thing, and GhostVillage.com exists to talk about all kinds of stuff, not just what I do. So, we're always bringing in interesting folks, and she certainly is that.
Tell us some more about your weekly podcast, then.
Well, I don't do it. I don't run the podcast. It's called Ghost Chronicles. A guy named Ron Kolick and his co-host Maureen Wood run it each week, and I'm just the publisher. They upload a new show each week, and it's really interesting. I do a monthly video cast called Paranormal Journeys. That's also on Ghost Village, and it's published through YouTube. And that's something.
Right, I checked that out. Yeah.
Didn't you have a couple of weeks ago the Stones Public House on that?
Yeah, right. That was the first episode, and we just put up a new one the other day. It's a visit. We go to a table tipping seance in Salem, Massachusetts, where a coven of witches runs through the experiment in a witch temple. It was really really cool that they let us film it. It was pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And the way to get to that is how?
That's on GhostVillage.com, and you can actually the new episode's right on the homepage. If you scroll down, you can play the latest episode.
Oh, good.
Fantastic.
Good.
Yeah,
oh,
no.
Wow.
So
I
there's
don't know if you know, but we actually just recently went 24/7 television.
Great.
And can we put an episode or two up on our television?
Sure. Yeah, it's on YouTube.
Cool.
You can actually get the code and embed it right in there.
Fantastic. Yeah. I'm totally excited about this whole thing. This is new to me. I have no background in ghost anything.
Right.
Except for the ones that I have in my machine. So I'm learning from everything.
Gremlins, they're not ghosts.
Ghosts, whatever, they still bother me.
Yeah, it's such a the whole paranormal realm. It's so interesting because it encompasses so much of the human experience, and that's what I keep coming back to, this human experience. Maybe some of these things are a fringe experience. I'll grant you that, but at the same time, that they're still perceived by humans, living humans, and perception plays such a role in this. Everybody's view is different. I've learned over the years that truth is actually relative. There's no absolute truth that I've heard of yet. As soon as I find it, I'd be glad to let you know. But you talk to a devout person of any belief system, and they'll tell you, no, it's absolutely the truth. That that this is the way. You have to be a Christian, not just a Christian. You have to be a Reformed Southern Baptist Christian, or else you're going to hell. Yes. But I understand. You almost have to think that way if you're going to really adopt a belief system. And I've just learned that, but then you'll talk to a Muslim who will tell you that with just as much emphasis and passion that their way is the right way and all others are doomed. And
Right.
but it's truth to them. And it's same in the realm of ghosts. That curtain that swayed by the door that just swung open. That's someone's ghost. That's someone saying that's a ghost, even though you say, well, gee, the door may have just caused a little wind there. Nope,
Well,
that's a ghost.
This is why it's wonderful to have people like you who are looking at this from a really how should I put, detached viewpoint or objective viewpoint, and many people are, which is great because it's so it doesn't turn into a religion or a belief system.
Well,
I mean, we have to keep an open mind and look at it from all angles.
We do, but what's interesting is that for some people, ghost hunting has become a belief system. It absolutely has. That with dogmas and rules and ritual, even prophets and a shaman and everything everything else that comes with any other belief system, and fighting.
Right.
Wars may break out one day.
That's human nature, though. I mean, as soon as you get something going, as soon as there's any kind of a setup, a system, something. I mean,
That's right.
It's bound to happen, unfortunately.
Yeah. And it's funny. That's why, in my paranormal investigative group, we are extremely exclusive. I mean, so exclusive. In fact, I'm the only member of my paranormal investigative group. And we are absolutely not taking applications for anyone else. And though we do have a lot of infighting, we do manage to stick together. Oh, you know what it is? I'm very generous. Like sometimes I'll buy my entire group lunch. It's on me, and I'm very generous that way.
They must love you.
Oh, they do. They really do. But we fight too. It's not always roses.
What are some of your upcoming investigations you have planned?
Well, we're working on new episodes of the Paranormal Journeys video cast. We're going to be heading out into the Bridgewater Triangle, which is a intriguing 200 plus square mile region of Massachusetts, which includes places like Hockomock Swamp with lots of great old Wampanoag folklore and creatures. Everything has been seen in this swamp, from Bigfoot to UFOs to ghost lights and strange creatures and giant
the whole gamut.
serpents.
Yeah.
It's all here. It's really an intriguing place. And
how big is that area?
The entire Bridgewater Triangle, which includes all kinds of very odd crimes and things like that, is about 200 square miles. Hockomock Swamp is just a part of the triangle, a very prominent part of it. But, for example, Interstate 495 runs right through the middle of it now, so it's been sliced in two. These wetlands unfortunately are in a bit of danger. So we'll be heading out that way and going with a team of experts. It's kind of fun. I did this once before. It was so interesting. We went to a place called October Mountain in western Massachusetts, another site where Bigfoot, ghosts, and UFOs have all been seen. And I went in with a Bigfoot guy, a UFO guy, and a ghost guy.
Oh.
And it was so much fun because in the beginning, everybody's looking at each other going, you UFO folks are absolutely nuts. And then the UFO guy looks at the Bigfoot guy and goes, Bigfoot, really? I mean, come on, don't you think we would have found a body by now? And the Bigfoot guy's going, I just think it's an undiscovered, primate. I don't think it's anything paranormal. But you ghost guys, seriously? Ghosts? Dead people? And it was just awesome. By the end of the day, we were just like, man, we're all nuts. We're all crazy.
You convinced anybody else, right?
No, but I think we all had a respect for, hey, we have questions and we're searching. We're up here. I mean, we were in October Mountain in December, and it was cold, and we're up in the Berkshires there, and so I think we're going to put another team like that together and head on out to Hockomock Swamp.
Now, how do you assemble a team for something like this?
Oh, you just call your wacky friends.
Oh, you know these people already. Okay.
You know what? You do this long enough, you just kind of know everybody. It's not that big of a field anymore. And you call the MUFON guys and say, "Hey, need a UFO guy in Eastern Mass," and they say, "Oh yeah."
Yeah.
And they say, "All right, I know him. He's on speed dial." That's speed dial 6, and then the demonology guy, speed dial 9, and the ghost guy, it's speed dial 5. It's pretty basic.
You've got a wonderful sense of humor. It's great. I guess you kind of need it too.
Yeah, and then I'll be out there with like a 6-pack of beer and just watch it all go down.
Oh, of course. Always goes better with beer. I'll never forget when I went UFO hunting, and it was after a witch's workshop or whatever it was, and we all went out and we took a couple of bottles of wine, and we saw like really interesting things out there.
Yeah, no, when I go on my ghost hunts, I absolutely can 100% guarantee there will be spirits. Might be the spirit of like Jack Daniels and Jose Cuervo, but there'll be spirits, damn it. Guaranteed. That's
great. Now, do you think that they have a sense of humor on the other side?
Boy, I hope so, or else I'm doomed when I die. So I'll be paying for this stuff for millennia.
I think we can all, I'll say the same. Mm-hmm. Well, Jeff, you've been a total delight. Thank you so much for being with us.
Yeah, thank you.
I hope you come back again. And definitely, everybody, please check out ghostvillage.com and see Jeff's upcoming events and books and videos. What was it? Paranormal Chronicles was the name of it?
Paranormal Journeys. Ghost Chronicles is the podcast. Yeah, we got paranormal everything, so
okay.
Whatever you're into.
I've got way too many windows open on my computer right now, so Ghost Chronicles. Okay, thank you again, and good luck with your upcoming ventures, and keep us posted, okay?
Sounds good. Thanks for having me on.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Take care.
Sandie, great talking to you.